record on this computer. There we are. And we will share screen. And yes. All right, so what did we say yesterday? We said that there are three types of commandments in the Torah. There's what's called mishpatim, edot, and chukim. There are commandments which are totally logical and understandable, like don't kill and don't steal. Those are what's called mishpatim. Then there's commandments which are religious commandments, like eating matzah and putting on tefillin, which those are, you wouldn't make it up yourself, but once they're there, you can understand why. We're eating matzah because we left Egypt, and we ate matzah when we left Egypt, and we put on tefillin to bind our arm and our head to God. Those are called edut. They testify on something that happened or something else in Jewish history or in the world. Then there are commandments which are called chukim. Chukim are commandments which are totally not understandable. Like it's forbidden to boil milk and meat together, to boil it, even if you don't eat it, it's forbidden. Does that make any sense? Totally no sense. What could possibly be wrong with boiling milk and meat? What's wrong with eating milk and meat? What's wrong with eating milk and meat that's boiled together? What's wrong with it? So these make no sense. These are commandments which are called edut. Well, our Torah portion here is called mishpatim, the logical commandments, and it says these mishpatim, these logical commandments, it says has to be put lifneihem, before them. And the Rebbe brought three explanations. What does it mean before them? Explanation number one, these commandments, or these, if there's any judicial questions over here, you have to bring them lifneihem, in front of Jewish judges and not Gentile judges. Number two, you have to, lifneihem means you have to explain all of the facets of all these laws to your pupils. And number three means you have to inspire the souls of your pupils. Lifnei, the panemius, the inside, you have to inspire their souls so that they connect these commandments to inspire them, connect them with God. So the Rebbe said, ask the question, why the logical commandments does this apply and the other two not? Only the logical commandments you have to only take in front of Jewish judges, and you have to explain all the aspects and all the inside, only those, the mishpatim, also the others. So finally the Rebbe says, yes, it's true. You have to do the others also. You have to do the other commandments which are not understandable and religious. You're supposed to take them only in front of Jewish judges. But the Rebbe says, but these commandments that are logical, you might think that because they're logical, so they're sort of normal. And you don't have to really take them in front of Jewish judges. There's non-Jewish judges that are also geniuses, and they're honest and they're straight. It makes sense to take them to everyone. The Rebbe says that's exactly the point. It makes sense to take them to non-Jewish judges. But the Torah is telling you here that sometimes you have to do even logical things in a way that makes no sense. You have to take these in front of Jewish judges. Even though it makes no sense to take them in front of Jewish judges, that's what you have to do. Also, the second, you have to explain all the different aspects of it. If these are commandments which there's no logic to them, so you figure, okay, a person might have a tendency to say, I'm not going to do it. It doesn't make any sense. So you have to explain it to them. But these commandments that make sense, you might think, I don't have to explain it. It's self-understood. It says, no, you must explain those also. You have to take the time, in other words, go out of your nature and explain these, even though you might think that they don't demand explanation. And the third one, you have to arouse the soul, is the same thing. You might think these commandments, it's sufficient motivation that I do the commandments because I understand them, not to kill, not to steal. I don't have to arouse my soul to do them. The other types of commandments that I don't understand, so I say, okay, I'll do it because my soul tells me to. But here my logic, says the Rebbe, that's exactly the point, that you should not rely only on your logic, that you have to use your logic also to serve the creator of the universe. And you have to know that even more, the fact that you're unable to understand these commandments, this is maybe a bigger miracle than the other commandments. Because the fact is that these commandments are totally godly. They're totally infinite. And that you can understand them, this is a miracle from God that he made it understandable. That's what it means to take it in the inside. Hey, showing Garet, we already spoke, as in them, that in the Ten Commandments are unified, und they the kasavas, they unify in themselves both of these opposites from number one, the highest levels went down to the lowest, and the lowest level went up to the highest. How do we say the highest came down to the lowest? We talked about this before. The Ten Commandments, the first one is Anochi. I am God, the essence of God, the creator of the universe that took you out of Egypt and that created the world in 6 days. And also, you shouldn't have any other gods. But also this tremendously high idea of devoting your life totally to the oneness of God and nothing else, this has to come down into Anhiran, Oich, and the Tziva, and you have to feel this also in the commandment, don't kill and don't steal. As Oich Zer Kiyum, that also this should be that the reason you don't kill and the reason you don't steal is not because you're a nice person and because your conscience tells you and it's an obvious thing, I'm not a barbarian. That's not the reason you shouldn't do it. The reason you shouldn't kill and shouldn't do it is because God says you shouldn't do it. Because one day your personal feelings might bring you to do exactly the opposite. But if you rely on God, then you'll always constantly go and ask higher rabbis than yourself and say, listen, is this really right? Am I doing, I don't want to do the wrong thing. That you have to know that even not killing and not stealing also comes from Anochi, comes from the essence of God. That, and we also see that the lower worlds went up to the top, that even also those people which on their own are the lowest level to the point where the even lower than animals, like a person wants to kill other people. Animals usually don't kill for no reason. Usually they don't. A person can kill for no reason. God forbid this. Learn in zich, a person can learn. In fact, a human being can even learn from an animal, right? Things what to do. It says that thievery you should learn from an ant. Biz as their abish their align their anochi mish anochi darv ze anzogen lo tirtzach and lo tignov. There are people that are so low that God himself has to tell them, hey, don't kill, don't steal. I feel it from from Zay, even from them. Father there's demanded these low people, they should go up to the highest level. Zay Zolin Hab and Amun, they should have faith and contemplation and knowing God until get to the highest level of Anochi. So there's the highest aspect, the essence of God can come down into the lowest. And we also demand that the lowest people in the world, that they should direct their attention to the highest things. A debater hurrah. In other words, that they should stop being low. We're not talking about a mass murder that's a philosopher. And we're talking about a person that because he thinks about God, he had a tendency to be a murderer. And because he thinks about God, he stops having this tendency. How does he stop being the tendency? Because he says, listen, that's not really me. I can ignore this tendency. If God says I shouldn't murder and I want to murder, it means I'm not alone in the world. It's not just my feelings. There's also what God says. Now, let's make a judgment. Who should I go according to? Maybe I should listen to myself. I'm also, let God do what he wants and I'll do what I want. When a person starts thinking about it, 1 second, God is creating me, right? Or maybe the other way around. Maybe I'm creating God. If I'm creating God, then everything goes. But if God is creating me, then maybe I should at least take God's opinion into consideration. Seriously, maybe God's opinion is equal to mine. Maybe it's even more than mine. Maybe, and that means little by little it starts to creep into the person's mind that even this person who's not a murderer, that he is a murderer, that he should be low tirtzach, he should stop being a murderer. At the Beta Haros, so both of these, that the highest comes down to low, and the lowest come up to the to the highest. Veren Nachamol Iber Gechazert in Techilas of Parshas Mishpatim. This is what we learned last week in Parshas Yitro when it was talking about the giving of the Torah. But these are repeated here also. That's what it says, Ve'ele hamishpatim. And these are the laws. That's how it starts off. It doesn't say these are the laws. It's a new thing. Ved means and. This is a connection to what it was, what we learned last week, that it was given on Mount Sinai directly by God. Ayin Ora, one teaching is like this. Afilu der kiyam mishpatim. That even when a person does logical, understandable laws, it should be lifneim, mitzad pnimis haneshama, from the inside of the soul. Was does is there elyonim yordu l'tachtonim. Even the logical, most logical things that you do, right? Don't strike your mother and father, right? Don't kill, don't steal. These are things that every normal person does, right? You go into China, you go into places where the people have respect for their parents. I don't know if there's any such thing in China now. There's such a thing as parents. I don't know. They don't want to have any children anymore over there. They only want whatever it is. The people have natural respect for their parents. They don't strike their parents, right? The natural thing says, no, you shouldn't do it because it's natural. You should do it. It's very good if it's natural. But you should do these commandments, all of the commandments of the Torah, because God himself says that you should do it. And in addition to that, you have to be genuine. I mean, this is your parents. You have to love them, right? You have to be a human being. But simultaneously, you're being a human being, that should not be the deciding factor, right? The Germans, the communists in Russia, they killed millions, tens of millions of people in the name of humanity, in the name of justice, in the name of friendship, of this now in the world, right? There's this big movement. I heard Bill Gates say it. There's too many people in the world for the good of the world. We have to cut down the world population. We have to in other words, killing people in the name of justice, in the name of life, in the name of joy, in the name of freedom, in the name of brotherhood, in the name of life. Killing people in the name of, you can do anything, right? If you don't use the Torah, of course, the Torah also can be perverted. That's what all the other religions do. And also you can have in the Torah itself, that there can be people that use the Torah, that 40 days after the Jewish people got the Torah, they worship the golden calf. So you can twist everything around. Nevertheless, that doesn't detract from the fact that there is truth and that we have the opportunity to do the truth. the opportunity. Gleichzeitig, simultaneously, sagt men euch as the tachtonim yalu l'mayla. The lower worlds, not only the upper worlds, come down into our day-to-day life. Even the most logical things should be done because God wants them to be done, providing that God does want them to be done. Right? You have to look in the Torah and see what God wants. Simultaneously, the lowest world should be elevated up. Also the lowest world in Yediyas Torah, HaTalmidim, for instance, children, people that are ignorant, people that are not able to learn, right? Was allein kennen sie nicht verstanden van anderkleben, darf man mit sie lernen und von sie alle zu greeten. The Jews, that they can't, young children, that they can't make their own choices. So you have to take them and teach them, and elevate them to the Torah, and make the Torah like a Shulchan Aruch, to put everything in front of them and make all the laws explainable and understandable. Just like when you go into a restaurant, everything is ready in front of you. That's how we have to make the Torah. That was the other explanation we have of Lifneim, arrange it in front of them. Even more, even the lowest people, Bahanhaga, the people who act in the lowest ways, Varum der Pasuk Rerdach Vegen Balei Dinim, because this law is talking about people that have litigants, that have a argument in court. Chach Lifneim meant also before the judges. Therefore, we're talking about two people who are litigants, right? One person says this land belongs to me, another one says it belongs to him. Was einer from their tainet amal false, which one of them can be lying, right? Can be lying. Sometimes you have two litigants where there's a mistake, right? One person says, listen, I'm sure this is my car, and the other one says not. Sometimes there's people who are liars, they're cheaters. And you take one of them to the court, one of them is lying. If so, we have here the Torah is dealing with people that are liars and cheaters and trickers and con men. Also by these people, by Addi, also by these low people, as Dad at Tzivo, it says Yala Le'elyonim, they have to raise up to the highest. Tasim Lifneim, you have to put it into their insides, arouse their souls. Midarv, they're given the Sima. You have to give them. Tasim means also, we said Sima means like a precious hidden treasure. You have to arouse this precious hidden treasure, the Otzer, from the inside of the Torah. Val mitzad, because in front of them, Paninius, the soul, is Zayin Alayin and Kasher, and all the Jews are kosher, at least potentially. Mukhshar to Makabel Zayin, the Otzer, they are prepared, they are able to receive the inner treasure of the Torah. Every Jew. Now you have to realize what's going on over here, right? Who the Rebbe is talking about. The Rebbe, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, was tremendously attached and devoted to his father-in-law. His father-in-law was the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. Now his father-in-law was in communist Russia. He saw Jews at their worst. At their worst. There was no worse Jews, I don't know, maybe there could be, who knows, than the Jews in communist Russia. The Jews in the communist Russia. The communists, Jews, there weren't, there's a lot of stories, but in any case, they hated the religious people. They hated the religious people more than they hated anybody. Religious Jews. And they were the ones who put the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe into prison. And they really wanted to have him killed. They did everything that they could to have him killed immediately as soon as possible. And just miraculously, he wasn't killed. I mean, he was released. But these people were the worst. Now here, what is the Rebbe saying? Every single Jew, without exception, is able to receive this inner essence of godliness which is found in the Torah. The deepest ideas in the Torah. Nor the Paninius Neshama, but the essence of the soul is by Zay Behelim. The problem is that their Jewish soul is concealed. They say that one of them was there and he hit the Rebbe and he said, Rebbe, why don't you listen? And the Rebbe turned to him and said, oh, you're calling me Rebbe, huh? In other words, you still recognize that there's a little something to Judaism, huh? Therefore, Zay Helfen Ir Megalazan. Therefore, the ideas of Chassidut help to reveal the Torah. This is ideas of the Torah. It helps to reveal the essence of the soul of every Jew. In other words, that's taking the lowest and raising it up. Tasim lifneim. The tasim means you should put, but it also means the hidden treasure that's inside of them. Und das gufa was mivet lernen mit zei, and this, that we can learn with these people, them sima ba'otzer, this deep ideas, and the hidden treasure which is inside. This is the godliness which is inside of every Jew, but it's the same God that's creating the whole world. And it's the same God that's enlivening everybody. And it's the same God that cares about everybody and loves every creation. This can be revealed in these lowest, most despicable, murderous Jews that there are. God, it's a terrible thing to say. And it's communists too, who knows what they were. Vet noch mer megalazayin, we can reveal the lifneim, the inside of them. Their paninius, their inside. So, okay, listen, no matter what type of Jews you see nowadays, they don't reach anywhere near as bad as the Jews. I remember I saw once, I must have said this 15 times, but I saw once I read an interview with Leon Trotsky. Leon Trotsky, he was a Jew. What was his name? His original name? I forgot, Rabinovich or something like that. Anyway, Leon Trotsky. And he was a murderer. I mean, he was a mass murderer. The guy, he established the Red Army, and they went and they made wars and they killed people. And he himself made purges against people, right? That they were killing people within the party itself. And they interviewed him. He eventually had to run away from Stalin. He went to Russia and they eventually to Mexico and they killed him. Anyway, he said, they asked him, you're a religious person? He said, no, I'm a total atheist. He said, I guess you have to say that I am a Jewish atheist. Right? I'm a Jewish atheist, but I don't believe in God, but I'm a Jew. He insisted that he was a Jew, a Jewish atheist. That was one of the reasons why eventually Stalin and those others, they killed him. That was their big, that he was a Jew, and you can't really trust a Jew, And he tried to deny it every could, but he himself did not deny it. So we see that the lowest, most murderous, right, the Jews, they can possibly, nevertheless, they can be elevated. They have this spark, and that's what it says. Lifneim, you have to put even these logical things, even the lowest things, even the cases in where one litigant is lying clearly, also to them it's lifneim. You can awaken their panemius, Oich di kochos, that it can shine even in the revealed powers, the powers of thought, speech, and action. Moach, believe in their heart and their brain, can feel masim belibo, you can put into their heart. The hearts can wake up to Hashem. Biz as durach dem, by means of that, tasim lifneim, that there will be yase otam, they will do them. In an orphan from v'chai. Not only will the Jewish people all come to do the commandments, but they'll do it in a lively way. That's what the job of Moses is to put the commandments inside of them, to inspire all of the Jewish people to show the whole world what the Torah is and how good God is and how much God loves every single one of his creations. And now we'll learn the Yom Yom of today. What is today? Today is the 27th day. Is it right, son? 27th. Here we go. Today is the 27th day of Shvat. Correct. And this Shabbat, Friday and Shabbat will be Rosh Chodesh Adar, where you have to be happy, whether you want to be happy or not. You have to be happy. You must be happy. And this is the 27th day of Adar. Here goes. The Rebbe Rashab, the fifth Rebbe of Chabad, he wrote in one of his Maimorim, the previous, the Hasidim Akodmim, the first generation of the Hasidim, 200 years ago, 150 years ago, they made a firm resolution in their souls that everything that which is permissible to do, a thing which is permissible to do, not a mitzvah. A mitzvah you have to do, but the things which are permissible, optional things. It's permissible, you can do it, according to the Torah, it's permissible, but the person feels a ratzon v'chemdat alev lezeh, but he felt a certain desire or lust for this thing, lo yasenu, they didn't do it. By means of this, nasa shvirat taivos, by means of this, it broke their desires and lusts. In other words, they were able to remove themselves from their own desires. It became there's the true me, and then there's what I want. That's called hesech hadat. They could remove, like we learned in the Maimer just now, dat means feeling, reality. They could remove their feelings from their desires. Just because I desire something doesn't mean that that's the real me. So I can put my real me aside and look at my desire separately and not do it. And then, of course, do it. We're not talking about that they fasted forever. A lot of times, exactly the opposite, right? A person wants to fast, he wants to be holy, he wants to do this. That can be his lust. That can be the wrong thing to do, right? A person has to eat in order to be healthy. On the other hand, you're not supposed to eat in order to get pleasure. Very thin line. But the first Hasidim, they said they're going to try to find this line and be on the proper side of it. Have a good day. 3 o'clock in the afternoon, God willing, we will learn the portion of the Torah of today. We're going to learn some of the Mishpatim with commentaries from the Ramban, from the Orach Chaim HaKadosh, from the Kli Yakar, from Rashi, from Sforno. Please be with us. Join us 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Bring your friends. Have a good day with Mashiach now.